This is the story of Robin and Derek. I remember one time I was talking to Robin, and she was studying for a test, and I was like giving her positive feedback. I'm like, "That's so great that you're studying for a test." And she's like, "Oh no, I feel so terrible about it." I'm like, "What do you mean you feel so terrible?" And she says, "Well, I have to work so hard in order to get a good grade in the class, and my boyfriend Derek was my good friend too. My boyfriend Derek, he just like saves it up till the very end, and on just the last night, he like works really, really hard, and then he does it, and he doesn't have to do it all over, and he just doesn't get stressed out just at the end." I'm like, "Whoa, wait a second, Robin." I'm like, "Stop. First of all, is Derek happy when he's putting off doing all the work?" And she's like, "Well, he's kind of happy because he's playing the guitar and he's not doing work, but he does talk about how he's like stressed out about it and stuff like that." I was like, "What about that last night? Is he happy when he saved it all up and he's like working so furiously and staying up all night?" And she's like, No, he's miserable. It's a miserable night for him." I was like, "Okay. Here's my next question. Does Derek do better than you?" And she's like, "Well, no, he usually does good. You know, he usually gets A minuses and so on and so forth." I was like, "What kind of grades do you get?" She was like, I usually get A minuses and A's and B pluses and stuff like that." So I was like, "So Derek's not doing better than you?" She said, "No." "So then why do you feel like Derek is better than you? Even though you're getting the same grades, why do you feel like he's better?" She's like, "Well, because it takes him less time and he saves it all up till the end." I said, "Does that mean he actually is better than you? Isn't the results, the information you're getting from the teachers about the grades that you've gotten, isn't that telling you that you've done the learning? So he's not better than you." She said, "No, he's not." And I said, "Isn't it interesting that in some ways he's actually more stressed out than you are?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "The interesting thing about Derek is that he actually like can't force himself to sit down and do it over the course of a long time. You're actually able to do it. That's a huge skill. Your ability to focus and organize and plan and do it sequentially over a long period of time, that's a skill that Derek hasn't mastered yet." And she goes, "Oh, that's super interesting." And I said, "Yeah, I admire you. I would rather be like you. Those times when I'm like Derek, I actually feel worse. And I think sometimes I have caught myself bragging about putting it off because I was insecure. And I wanted people to think that I was smarter because I had put less work into it." And I actually have seen this in school too. Sometimes, have you guys ever heard, somebody say like, "Oh, I only got a B on that, or I only got a C on that, but I barely studied." Somehow proving that they're smart because they can barely study and still get this grade or that grade. And I think the reason people brag in this way is because they feel insecure. I know that when I have done that, it was because I felt insecure. So I hope this story, what you get from it, a theme that you might get from it, is that what's most important is that you get the learning done. We're not in a competition to see who can do as little work possible and still get a good grade. That's not what learning is about. Learning is about putting the time into it, having intrinsic motivation, and then the grade is information to you that you have learned what you need to learn. I still admire Robin. I like Derek a lot too, but I hope he's overcome that propensity he had to save stuff up until the end, be really stressed out about it, and then brag about how he didn't spend that much time on it, even whatever grade he got. I'd much rather be Robin. Calm, organized, getting it done, and doing the learning. Thanks.